Hello my friends and welcome back to Flutter Explained, your channel for everything Dart and Flutter related. Today we want to take a look on how we can recreate something like this, an infinite scrolling possibility of cards or images that always repeat itself. Also, we want to make the opacity on the sides a little bit more special. So let's have a look on how we can recreate that in Flutter. Let's go! Alright, let's begin in our terminal again. Let's create a Flutter project, endless scrolling tutorial, and add the -e to it, because what we want to do is have a bare minimum of Flutter project. Let's do that. And with that, we have in seconds our new project, the endless scrolling tutorial. Say code dot, opening up our code, Visual Studio Code, and starting here in our main file. Right, in our main file, what do we want to do? First of all, we can leave as it is actually, and we can start up our emulator. I will use now an macOS emulator just because it is the most convenient way for me, but you can use whatever you want as always. And as soon as we have started up our application, we can see this. Fantastic. But now let's go again to our solution and check out all the things that we have to create actually. Alright, but before we start to jump in and create something like this, let's have first 1 or 2 steps and think about what exactly do we want to recreate. So first of all, we want to have this nice little animation that goes from the right to the left, which looks amazing, and all the time it should be infinitely looping. So that is one challenge we want to solve. The second challenge is the opacity on the sides has to go into nothing. So it looks nearly like there is a mask or anything. Now you saw right now a jump inside of the whole thing. That is because only the images at the moment are no perfect loop. The reason for that we will see as soon as I start developing. And now let's try to tackle one of these challenges by the time. The first step that we want to do is just creating a list of these cards in the top, and afterwards we try to transfer that into these images. Right, now let's get started. Good, first we need some basement work, right? So the first thing that we have is a material widget with a scaffold. First we want to change the background color just to make it look a little bit cooler. From ARGB, I choose a nice little color here, 48, 48. And if I do that, we can see everything is getting a little bit dark. Text is still visible, but not quite there anymore. Okay, now we have to think about it. I would like to create a scrolling possibility where I can pass in images and maybe the width and a duration, how long something would need to iterate over it. So also we would need an animation at the end, so animation controller is necessary. And we would like to animate the offset, like the movement, right? So all of that needs to be taken care of. So my idea first would be, I think we should maybe start with a widget, right, that we can create. So let me think. So we have the center part here, and the center part should be a column, just because we will have these 2 rows, on the top the cards and the bottom the images. But I think we can do that also later. And then the children should be this infinity scrolling. And what I will do is I will create already a new widget for it, because I know there will be an animation controller, so it will be a little bit bigger, and to make that a little bit nice looking. So let's call that endless scrolling widget.dart. Good. We have here for now, let's use directly this one. I think, yep, perfect. It works directly. So we can call that endless scrolling widget. You can name that, of course, whatever you want. And we start with a placeholder. And to make it visible right away in the main.dart, we replace it here. So now we have to import it, and everyone is happy now. We have a very big placeholder. But that's not what we want. So let's think about it. So these infinite scrolling things, first of all, as you can see, we have already an animated scroll animation controller here, which gets initialized, which gets disposed, and a single ticker provider mixin. So if you don't have used the state animan command from VS Code or IntelliJ, then you will have to recreate that for yourself. But with that, we have already the big foundation that we don't have to create all the boilerplate for it. So inside of here, we have now some, let's call it children, right? And these children are like cards. So let's think how this card could look like. The easiest way would be that we say, okay, there is a card and inside of it there is a text like hello world. So let's see if this works. Convey named, yep, fair enough. So that looks ugly, so we wrap this text with a padding, and this padding of 8, I think that's fine. Looks already quite good. So we can enter here whatever we want, like JSX, something like that, or Flutter. Good, but this is of course just one card. We would like to have multiple of these. And because I would like to make this as an end part, what I will do is I will create quickly an anonymous class inside of the endless scrolling, which is stateless, to have just my card widget separated so that we don't have to recreate that now for everything. But that means we pass in this card stuff inside of here. Fair enough. And now we reuse the card widget. So why did I create a widget for it? As you can see, we not only have only one card, we have multiples, right? So that means what we have here is a row. So, and inside of here, we want to have multiple of these card widgets, like 1, 2, 3, 4, what you name it. And now you can see the problem is we have always the same text in it. What do? We improve our stateless widget by getting something inside here. All right, so now we have this card widget. Inside of this card widget, we want to pass in a text, right? So final text or string text, and would like to use that as this text, so we can replace that on the go. And the idea is to have here a required this.text. Fair enough. And this should do the trick already. Yeah, it's just because of the const part. Fair enough. So now all of these are complaining at the moment. So what we have to do is actually we have to pass in the text, and in this one it's Flutter, and the other one it's text. We call that JSX. So you can use that for your CV, for example. Now that we have that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 children. And the idea is now to have all of that multiplied. So the idea is that it can roll one time and then we just repeat again. So we will not see any disturbance. So that means what we will have is twice as many children. So it doesn't look nice at the moment, but it makes sense in a second. Cool. So we have now these images, this scrollable behavior. And now what's next is we have to make it scrollable and also adding the gradient on the side. So let's take a short break. This is a good moment where you should think about to join our membership program of Flutter Explained with all the names that you can see here. It supports greatly this channel and supports me to continue my work. So if you find this or other videos of me helpful, it would be fantastic if you think about to support me with a membership. Thanks in advance, and now back to the video. And actually what we could do is, I would recommend to start with the edges because it makes a little bit understandable what we are creating here. So this row, actually, I would say we need a mask for it. That means when we want to move it to the left, it's just a transform widget, what we can do. But let's start off with the edges that they are not so visible. For that, we wrap this in a so-called shader mask. And this shader mask gives us the shader callback. The shader mask, if you don't know it, is like a real mask that you know from Photoshop maybe. So you can put things inside and you make things opaque depending on the color that it contains. So this gives us the possibility to just use a linear gradient now to hide and show special areas that we want to show. And the idea is that we want to use that on our return const, I said it already, a linear gradient. And this linear gradient has some options like colors, beginning, end, stops, and so on and so forth. So let's start with the colors. We would like to have exclusively 4 colors defined. And that is a list of colors, colors.transparent. This is how we start, right? Invisible. Then we want to have the colors.black on top, colors.black again, colors.transparent. So, and if I'm not mistaken, the type isn't a shader. Okay, fair enough. So the linear gradient gives us also the method create shader. at the end. So this gradient shader does already all the tricks that we will need actually to make it possible. So, and this rect is our bounce object that we received. So, and if you get that from the shader callback. As you can see already, we have already managed something. So on the left and on the right, we can see it is invisible, right? And in the center, it's black. But there is something missing. We would like to have and see the inner part. So for that, we have to change how the shader behaves. So on our shader mask, we have the blend mode. And the blend mode, there are different parts of it, like clear, color burn. All of these you can also get from the Photoshop part actually. And with that, you can now say dist in, for example. And now we see on the left and on the right, it's getting invisible. And we can see in the center, it's mostly visible. So I'm now a perfectionist. I just don't like how the stops are here. So what I do is I add some stops, 0.1, like 0.3. Then we have 0.7 and let's say 0.9. And if we add these stops, the transparent part is way shorter. Then we have a very big visible part and a very short part of this. So you can tweak with these numbers to make this shader behavior a little bit easier or smaller. So next, we have the problem that now we have the shader mask applied, which is fantastic, and we will move these things. But as you can see, if I scratch that up, the more I go big, the bigger I am. And yeah, we just have that on the full width of the page. We don't like that. So what I will do is I will wrap this shader mask in a container. Whoop. And inside of this container, we define a fixed width, in our case 500. That is necessary for the transformation later, because we don't want that it is overflowing or that we don't have control over it. So it would behave weird. And if we have that, we need also a clip behavior, because as you probably know, I changed it to a sized box. It's a container, please. So we need a clip behavior. And the clip hard edge is the case again. And the reason for that is we want that if something is overflown, we don't want to see it again. If you don't remember why this is the case, check out my video where I created the card animation. When you hover inside, that the animation came inside. It's the same problem actually. So we don't want to show some elements outside of that. So now there was an error or a visible error. The problem is if you have a hard edge, you need also a box decoration, even though it is empty. If you find a cool solution how to avoid that, please come to me and let me know. So let's make a hot reload just to see if everything works. And as you can see now, nothing outside of these 500 is visible, and we can now start with the transformation. So how can we do that? That's actually quite easy. We want to translate our row and only this row. So what we do is we wrap that with a transform.translate widget. And inside of here, we have to pass in an offset. Oops, offset. And what this offset does, we can just move it by 50 and 0 to see what happens. The text is now moving to the left. And again, don't worry about this nice little construction site here on the side. This is typical. Whenever you have an overflow or something, you will see that in Flutter. But we intentionally want to have that because we want to make this possible with the overflow. But in release mode, this will be not visible at all. Good, fair enough. So let's keep that at 0, 0. And this one we need to translate somehow. So we need a value, an animation value to be exact. And as you remember, we have this animation controller already set up for us. And now we would like to use that to have all the possibilities to make it look nice. So first of all, we want to set the duration here. So the duration of the animation should be, let's say, seconds, let's say 8 for now. We can change that later. And what I also want to do for the future is that we, for each animation part, for every infinite scrolling that we have, or endless scrolling, we want to have different times so that it looks nice. You know, the skills scroll with 8 seconds and then the images in 24 seconds or something. So you can choose and they're super flexible with it. Important here is that we want to repeat this animation as long as possible, and we want to have an add listener. So whenever there is a change of the value, we want to set the state just to let Flutter know that there is a change, and we want to make it nice, make the smooth visibility there. All right, and from there, what we can do is we want to create an a tween animation. So what we need to do is creating a late final that's animation offset, because we want to tween between the end of the part and the beginning of the part and the end of the part. So we want to really go one time through the part until it restarts exactly. So this is our animation. And what I will do is just initialize it directly here, so we don't have a problem. Could be that I have to bring it in later, but yeah, for now it's fine. So the offset.0 and the ending is, and now we need the offset of the full width. We know it is now 500 plus some offset. So we will take for 510, for example. Good. If we do that, we are nearly finished. We just have to animate it to the controller. So, and with that, we should be fine. Bum, 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 looking good. Some commas added to make it a little bit easier readable. And this animation now, because it is specified to our controller, is now possible to use as the value, because it is an offset here inside. So we can use the value directly here in the transformation translate. So let's do that. Add this animation.value. And let's see if it's animating. So I hot restart quickly. And voila, we can see the moving part is already done. And what do we see? It goes into the wrong direction. Oh no, how to fix that? The problem is that our ending offset is positive. We need to make it negative. And now it is scrolling in the right direction. Obviously, you can do that in every direction you want to. All right. So that looks already quite fancy, and we have it moving and all that stuff. So that's already nearly everything that we need to it. The only thing is that I saw now is it jumps a little bit, as you could see. And the reason is I made a mistake. So this number is quite flexible. You have to calculate actually every card, connect them as one width and add the offset to it. We don't do that here, but at the moment 510 is just too small because Flutter should be here somewhere, so we have to move it further. So let's say 560, for example. And if I do that with this change, if it's rolling through, we can see after the content creation, as soon as Flutter is in the dark, it will then repeat the animation. And with that, we don't have this jumping effect. Keep that in mind. Actually, there is a little bit trial and error, but what you can do is calculating, as I said, all the widths of all these parts together, and then you have it. So, but now we are super inflexible, right? We have only these card widgets, we have to rely on them, and this endless scroll widget should have more control. So we want to pass in the children that we want, and also what possibility we want to have is the duration should be animated and the width of all parts we should have here. So what we can do is adding these different parts. So first is the widget width. That should be the part how far we have to scroll actually. Then we have the children. So that is a list of widgets. And these are the children. And then we have, last but not least, the duration. Duration of, the scroll duration. So, and these all these information should be added into the constructor. So let's see if we can do that easily. Perfect, even. Fantastic. So, and with that, we have a lot of complaints. But what we can do is we add this here, +10, just to have like this offset. We want to have the children. This is part of here, actually. So instead of passing in that list, let me remove that. We take that list, actually, because we need to lift that up now. We say widget.children, and that should do the trick. Probably not a const, right? So fantastic. And here we have that, and this will complain because that is widget.widgetWidth. Not perfect name, I guess. So we would have to change that from widgetWidth probably to something like children width or something like that. I think that makes more sense. Probably could also calculate that inside of this widget, but I do it now like this. Good, then we have the duration, which is the scroll duration. We need that here, which is widget.scrollDuration. And shouldn't be inside of a const. And this is not the duration, widget.scrollDuration. Good. All in all, we are now nearly finished. So whoever is using this endless scroll widget, our main class in this case, has now to provide. So the idea is that I provide now here two different lists of children, right? So we have the first var children, and this is this part. And the second part will be the images that we need. So we will do that in a sec. So the children will be the children here. Then the scroll width, we say 550 for now. And the last part is the scroll duration, where we pass in a duration, seconds, let's say 14. So, and with that, we should be already quite flexible, kind of in a const constructor. Fair enough, remove that. Good. So if we hot reload, nothing should have changed, besides of maybe the duration of the scrolling. So even nothing has changed. So let's kick it, because sometimes it can happen that the different animation controllers in the background will not be hot reloaded. So we just restart everything once more from scratch to make sure that everything is working. Okay, we also have a coding issue, and run it again. Oh, good point. That needs to be immutable. So final children. Good, but all in all, no difference here. So let's open it up. Having our scroll behavior, fantastic. Good. So we have the scrolling, and now when we will change that to, let's say, this image part, for that I will use an API that we get different images. So the idea is to have another children element. So we call it final image children, and we pass in here a list. And because we don't have any, we say it is equal to 0, I is smaller than 8, and I++. So, and here we will come also to a limitation, because if we used here a size box, for example, we say the height is 200 and the width is 155, for example, and we say the child is an image. And now we take an image from the networking image, because I want to just fetch it from the web. And I have prepared an URL here for that. So let's do it like this. I guess something like this should do the trick. So it will complain that random is not there. So now you can see this random part here at the end. That is just because if Flutter is fetching from an API an image, it will take the first image and just copy it, because it will cache that image and thinks, okay, it's the same URL, nothing has changed. So I take just the same image again. To avoid that, we use this random part. So now Flutter is enforced to re-get the image, and because the API gets always a new image whenever you ask for it. So, and the 155 in width is actually on purpose. The reason is I would like to have a little gap between the images. Cool. So if we have this, we get now these 8 images. So what we can do is wrapping this endless scroll widget in a so-called column. Where is it? There we go. And we just create it once more. And this time we use, instead of children, we use the image children. And let's say we increase the duration a little bit. And whoa, we have an error here, depending on, yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. And let's keep the width of the children for now. But actually what we can do is we say 4 times 155, which is the width of the images. By the way, as you can see now, the repetition will not work here, because we fetch the images now from the internet and all 8 images are different images. It will not have this nice little overlap effect. It will jump back. If you want to have this nice overlap effect, what you will need to do is having 8 images pre-catched, and then with these 8 images, you will just double them. So then you have again this loop effect. All right. But yeah, why does it not work? Obviously, Xcode problems. So let's open up Xcode quickly. We have to add in Xcode the networking allowance. No? So, and we do that. The runner is here, runner selected. We go to sign in and capabilities and allow him the network connection here. And with that, if we close it again, jumping back, probably we have to completely start again. Let's see. Yeah, probably we have to. So let's run and debug once more. And now with these allowances for the network requests, we will get the images here. So let's start it up. I will be back for you when it's done. Cool. Here you can see now the images are also iterating. The top part is iterating. It looks maybe not perfect. So what we can do is still adding to this column a main axis alignment is center. And with that, we should be fine. Everything is scrolling as expected. And as soon as the 8 image is now scrolled, it will then jump back somewhere. Yeah, so that is for the images. But the other thing is looking pretty nice. You can add a size box to it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed what I did here today. And if you are interested how we did it, or if you are interested in seeing more of this tutorial, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. And as always, thanks to all my joined members here on the YouTube channel. It would be fantastic if they're coming new to me. All right, and if this is everything you liked, here's another video that you should watch right now. Go for it.